Greetings, Jamaica. Greetings, Uniteds. Winston Wright here from DYC with another eye opener. So, the DPP says that we are to pay for the liabilities incurred by the government for a gentleman that was sentenced excessively without his time served in lockup on remand being counted towards his sentence. So, he took that case to the Supreme Court, to the Court of Appeal, sorry, and they are saying, well, the DPP admitted that the state is liable. Now, we can all remember the stories, and there were multiple, there were like three stories a couple of years ago that talked about the millions of dollars that the government, the liability that the government is racking up. And when I say government, I don't mean the present administration, both administrations, both PNP and JLP administrations have racked up. So let's take a look at what was presented in the 2019-2020 budget presentation. Then it was presented at $287 million is owed in liability by the state based on lawsuits brought against the state. So bear that in mind, that's $287 million. Now, don't that sound like Jamaica needs its own version of Doge? Because we have state actors running around and creating liabilities that us taxpayers have to pay. And there's nobody reining that in. Okay? 14 million of that was due to one person. Okay? And we haven't gotten to the other gentlemen that had gotten $22 billion each. I think it was two of them. So you see how the math is adding up. That's why we can have good roads. Okay? But the politicians make sure that their salaries are secured, very hefty salary, while we have to struggle and pay all the tax, pay all the liability, right? But let's take a deep dive into it. And for those who want to check those figures, it was a report on GIS. That's it. So this guy was sentenced to 15 years. Okay? He spent 33 months on remand. So he was supposed to be credited for those 33 months. And follow me and you'll see where those figures become important later. The DPP is arguing that, hey, we should have credited the guy, we're wrong, we're lying, let's pay him. Okay? But at the same time, throw this case out so that way he can go back to the courts. Right? That sentence him and say, hey, my sentence is too excessive. I'm applying under a particular law for you to review my sentence and reduce it. Right? You know why? Because she doesn't want the precedents being handed down in a superior court. Because the government was saying, hey, we're going to have all these criminals, and this guy was on a gun charge and a wounding charge. We don't want all these criminals having the ability to sue us for one, excessive sentencing, and for two, for that crediting them time served in remand. And you all know how remand goes in Jamaica. He did 33 months. That's multiplied by 12. Divide by 12, sorry. And you'll see how long he's been waiting for a trial, and there are other people who have been there longer. Okay? Now, here's what that does. It means that it endangers those lengthy sentences that they told us they can give to these criminals. Okay? But again, I'll come back to that. So the DPP is arguing so that way the case is thrown out because they don't want the precedents. Meaning they don't want the court to hand down a decision because that decision now becomes a rule, has to be applied, has to be abided by. Okay? Then again, this is Jamaica because the same Supreme Court had said that police shouldn't stop people arbitrarily and search their vehicle, and they're still doing it because then Commissioner Ellington said abide by the rule and nobody has charged him for contempt of court. Continuing. So, when you look at what is happening with the crowded dockets in the court and the lengthy trial process, right, that when you are remanded, not given bail, because everybody thinks bail is it. You understand? That we would deny them bail, even though the Constitution or the farce of Constitution may have said give them bail. So, when they say deny them bail, they think it's as simple as that. Fundamental human rights and treaties that we have signed with international organizations. We have to treat people a particular way. Right? Now, those treaties and local laws requiring us to act a certain way, the judges have to consider conditions of bail. Right? And it goes back to another presentation I made as to how the bail mechanism can be strengthened to prevent criminality for those who are facing the justice system. And we can get into it again another time. But those conditions are being the judge have to grant that. We hear over the past couple months to a year, a lot of people talk about, oh, Judge move, send man for the road, Judge. And it's mostly the JLP government, the no JLP government, particularly the security minister and the justice minister pushing these narratives. Right? Trying to paint the judges in the judicial system in a particular way. Right? Yes, they are influenced. Yes, they have done bad things, including to our president, who is still waiting on his ruling in his case. But the facts still remain. They are pushing this new narrative to make it look like they're actually working on our behalf to create a stronger justice system where they're not. They don't want that because it would implicate them and their friends. So, these court dockets, this long waiting period for trial, it means that those sentences are going to get trimmed down. I mean, if you get a 15-year sentence and you wait 10 years to go to trial, you're gonna get a 5-year sentence because you're credited, okay? And that 5 years by with good behavior and because it run concurrent might end up being a year and a half, probably 2 years. Yeah, that's it. So and I'm saying that that is a sentencing guideline. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying those sentences will be drastically reduced because of that. So they're trying to kill that, okay? Because they see that all of this, the crowded dockets, the lengthy trial period, is a recipe for lawsuit. So more liability on you, the taxpayer. Okay? Yes, the solution is very simple and straightforward. Right? We will revive the petty session courts so that way simple matters, especially matters at the community level, can be addressed in those courts. Right? And I won't go into too much details as to how we'll do that. Because people have a way of borrowing UIC policies. Right? So we revive the petty session courts. Traffic matters will move that to night court, for example. Will definitely strengthen the online court process so that we, again, other matters like traffic and even civil matters can move to that and free up courtroom space and courtroom docket. Naturally, we have to appoint more justices, which they have pledged to do but not done. Right? So that we will now have a calendar that is wide open for cases to move forward without lengthy incarceration in violation of rights. We can quickly dispose of cases and those time credited for incarceration in cases where bail has been denied will be very short periods. So they will face the full extent of the law. Okay? So on a different forum we discuss the details of the UIC plans in that regard. Again, we try not to put too much things out here for them to take away. But that hefty price tag that we're now facing from all these liability have to be taken into consideration. And the reason why. Okay? So the corrupt DPP office, as it exists, that is highly politicized, wants the current case to be thrown out so as not to set a precedent so that it endangers what they're doing. We need to remember that. So when we vote in the next election, make your vote a protest vote because you know that the system is corrupt and it's being held up by them. Why else would the DPP be arguing for the court to throw out a case that she already admitted to, or her office has admitted to in the courts, that the liability exists? You can't have it both ways. You can't say a liable and then throw the case. The judge have a rule for the case. Okay? But make your vote a protest vote. Vote for UIC and their candidates, our candidates, in whichever division they are, in your division, to support us and take the votes away from them. Because they need to know that they don't have a monopoly on your vote.